And speaking of work, how many vacation days does your company give you? Most likely there's a set policy and someone keeps track. But more and more companies, such as Netflix, are thinking outside the box. For example, IBM, for years, has used an honor system for many of its workers. And recently, Richard Branson has advocated for unlimited vacation days. Sounds great, but does it work? Here to talk more about these innovative vacation policies is Anne Weisberg, Senior Vice President at the Families and Work Institute. Welcome to Arise Exchange.
Thank you.
This is really kind of an interesting topic, and IBM has been doing this for quite a few years, where you get 3 to 4 weeks vacation, but they don't keep track of it. The company that invented the spreadsheet basically says it was too expensive for them to keep track of it. And we're seeing more companies do this.
Well, it's one thing to track it, and it's another thing to actually say, okay, you get to decide how many vacation days
and that's what Richard Branson has done.
Right, right. And so, you know, it is true that in a world where we can work anywhere, anytime, 24/7, right, we do need new rules. We do need new rules about, you know, when to take time off, how much time off to take, how that looks. But no rule at all, I'm not sure, is the answer.
Okay. And what I think studies have found, though, is when you have no set rules, you end up taking less vacation time, don't you?
Right, exactly. So in our experience, companies that have tried this have found that their people don't take enough vacation. And what I mean by that is that we all know that working 24/7 without a break actually isn't good for long-term performance. Most people burn out. They don't, you know, they just can't keep up at that pace over the long run. So most companies that have vacation policies have those for a reason, to give people a break.
Don't you think we all need to be treated like adults instead of having vacation days and personal days and sick days? Is it a valid move to simply move to what's known as PTO, which is personal time off? Is that a trend that we're seeing, and is that beneficial to workers and the companies?
Yes, and it's paid time off.
Paid time off, sorry, personal time off.
The P stands for paid, and that's important. And absolutely. So we're moving to a more customized workplace where people take time off for all kinds of reasons, and not tracking the reasons and not caring what the reasons are, I think, is a good thing.
Why do you think someone like Richard Branson is saying unlimited vacation time? Is he, and we've interviewed Sir Richard many times, he doesn't seem like the type of person, well, I'm going to do this because then they won't go on vacation. He seems to genuinely care about the employees.
No, he does. And I think he's trying to say, look, you know, you're in charge of your time. And if you get your work done, I don't really care. And that's a great message in some ways. But what does end up happening, unfortunately, in practice, is that people don't take vacation time.
Let me look at the extreme. I have friends who work at ESPN, for example. You know, in the first month in January, you have to choose all of your vacation for the year. You have to use it, and you have to schedule it then. They have to do that. Well, they claim they have to do that because of a very complicated broadcast schedule. But is that something that companies should consider and therefore compel people to go on vacation?
Well, I was going to say that, you know, I think that we should be thinking about vacation in a really serious way. And that's a signal that has to come from the top. Actually, we're going into performance reviews in a lot of companies. What if part of your performance review was, how much vacation time did you take?
Vacation?
You know, and there are some companies that do track it and actually flag if you haven't taken your vacation time.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if there's other ways you could incentivize people. You know, you get discounts when you go to the gym, for example, because they do better on their health insurance. There's got to be some correlation with being out of the office and taking a breather. And maybe there's some incentives. Are companies looking at that?
We know companies that have tracked performance and vacation and have found a direct positive correlation. In other words, people who take all their vacation actually perform better.
Why are Americans not taking a vacation? What is keeping us tied? Because especially now, you feel less guilty. I remember there was a scene in the movie Network where the main character says, I'm going to the Hamptons for the weekend, I'll be completely out of touch. That doesn't exist anymore. So why are people not taking vacations?
I think because they feel like there's just too much work. They feel overwhelmed. And so their response is, I'm not going to, you know, I'm just going to keep going.
The stress kind of builds up on each other, right?
In the end, that is that's sort of a self-defeating kind of...
and your performance suffers.
Yes,
and the
because your performance suffers,
and have a nice weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ahead, a pistol-packing anti-gun lawmaker is our favorite person of the day. You're watching Arise Exchange.